Hey everyone, welcome to our town's terrifying tales. Tonight, we unravel the disastrous mystery. Get ready for suspense. That evening, Sarah found the deputy sheriff and remembered how her actions led to Kenny's dad becoming a victim of the Kenny was simmering with hatred, but under Sheriff Black's wise words, he decided to hold off on any crazy revenge. Let's rewind a bit. Sarah has a super ability. She can hear whispers from the town or the demons. When nearly lured by one, she acted fast, but tragically ended up killing little Ethan. She then told Kenny that something felt off. She was spooked by the forest, feeling like this place was feasting on people's misery. Sarah then recounted her late brother Nathan, who had a phobia of cicadas. Think of it like a scaredy cat on steroids. She pondered, what if the dead were used by something to spread fear and hurt others? Maybe those odd cicadas are doing just this. Leads us to wonder, are the demons in the forest formed in a similar way? Maybe long ago, Tants Fuchs fears turned into Skinwalker's post-mortem. Jed saw not only mysterious symbols, but also gruesome massacres. Based on past clues, some folks experienced a massacre, turning their fears into creepy demons. Specifics might take a few episodes to unveil. Now, let's get back to the tale of the River of Music. But before we dive into that, let's talk about Marley and Dr. Cress, along with what Sheriff heard over the They touch, they ruin, they steal, nobody here is free, I swear. First up, let's talk about Marley. He and Dr. Chris have been living at the hospital, but Marley is a total recluse and steals meds whenever Chris isn't around. He's seriously troubled by music and hallucinations, so the doctors had to tie him to a bed. But that night, Marley saw a bunch of cicada skulls zooming into his room, followed by an outright swarm. Marley was thrashing in pain, as if his struggles matched the line, they steal. As his eyes turned white, Marley fainted. Now on to newcomer Randall, who doesn't buy into the demon hype at all. He lives alone in a bus, convinced that someone is orchestrating this whole mess to trap everyone in town. He suspects that Don and the sheriff are the real traitors. It's pretty null, considering he's never seen the Skinwalker in action. By chance, he spies them packing a body, thinking it was an upper-level plot. He's too scared to act, not knowing that the weapon in their hands is the real deal. Irony alert, that was just the Skinwalker that All Black had dealt with. They decided to burn the body, but this prompted Randall's wild imagination, and he ended up kidnapping Don. While he was in the woods threatening Don, Jim just happened to arrive. Randall had previously spilled his suspicions to him, so they decided to hide in Jim's overturned RV that night to see if any traitors were slipping out of town. But now seeing Randall tied on to a tree, Jim disagreed with this method and planned to free Don. But the enraged Randall suddenly shoved him aside and even flashed a knife. Fortunately, the sheriff arrived just in time, forcing Randall to drop the knife and step back. Don was finally freed, but Randall faced terrifying hallucinations. Massive cicadas swarmed toward him, perhaps reflecting what he saw about the ruin. At this point, two people have faced the cicada attacks, uncertain of their fate. That very night, Jim and his murdered daughter Julie seem to have similar fates too. Although it remains unclear how her situation relates to the touch, it's undoubtedly evident she's been marked and affected. All the gathered souls in the house were huddled together, brainstorming their next move. After all, they can't skip sleep every night. At that moment, little Black Ear mentioned a bizarre dream he had. In the dream, a boy in white repeated, "They came, 3 shape up, unless you stop the melody." The crowd was puzzled. Suddenly a guy named Barniski remembered something from childhood, a nursery rhyme. The lyrics roughly go, they touch, they part, they rubber here, no one is free, repeating they come over. Upon hearing all of this, the sheriff suddenly felt as if the light bulb above his head had finally begun to flicker and come to life. The next morning, the 3 selected ones suddenly screamed in unison, "Oh my God, what's happening? What's happening?" Too many Lindas talking at once. Meanwhile, the sheriff took the deputy and Sarah into the woods, recalling how new forms of fear spread once he escaped that cave. He suspected it was all linked to the cave and brought Sarah back, finding odd music playing the moment they arrived. She pointed out the music box was right there, spinning ominously, time to get it out before it hurt anyone else in town. As whispers filled Sarah's mind, she bled from her nose in agony. The sheriff and deputy were worried, wanting to take her back to town. However, Sarah swiftly refused, issuing a grave warning that everything began when the sheriff brought it back, like a genie granting freedom. Now he was getting more and more excited, seemingly plotting how to take everyone out in town slowly. Suddenly, Sarah called out 3 names: Julie, Randall, and Marley. Sensing they were in danger, she urged the sheriff to stop this madness, but he felt powerless against these unseen threats. When they reluctantly returned to town, the sheriff headed to the church, hoping for some divine guidance from the deceased Father Carter. Just as he was breaking down, Don burst in, saying Ellie's, the sheriff's son, and Fatima planned to marry. Don hoped the sheriff could come, mentioning Fatima too.